Hey guys, it's Doug. Today I want to talk to you about the 5 things that I want to learn in 2021 and over the course of the next year. Just like you, I'm constantly trying to learn new things, and there are 5 things that I'm really excited about. So let's go through the 5 things, and then I'll get into each one of them independently. So the 5 things that I would like to learn over the next year are the Go programming language, some sort of crypto programming language for smart contracts. I'll probably start with Solidity. Third thing is going to be software architecture, especially the kind that deals with high-speed event processing, and I'm also going to lean into Flutter. And lastly, I want to look at serverless. The first thing I'd like to get into is the Go programming language. And I do like the little gopher guy, but that's not the only reason. I want to use Go for 2 main reasons. First of all, it's supposed to be really fast, and I started learning with C++ way back in the day, and I haven't used it lately. But Go seems like it might be kind of a good way to rekindle that feeling I used to get when I would develop in C++. Also, it can be used on the front end with Gopher.js, or it can be used on the back end. So I think I'm going to start out by doing some web services on the back end, but I'll probably also play around with Gopher.js because it's kind of boring constantly doing the same types of UIs. You know, like using JavaScript and TypeScript for things like Angular and React. Like, it's just not really that exciting. But the other thing that is exciting is the second thing I want to learn, and that's Flutter. I know that Flutter is like one of those things that everyone's like, oh, Flutter. Yeah, I get it. But I learned Flutter long time ago, right? The last time I dealt with Flutter was before the version where they started supporting actually building web apps with Flutter. And it seems to me the trickiest thing about using Flutter isn't actually the syntax. I think it looks really nice. I like using Flutter because it kind of looks like a back-end programming language, and it has all the really nice IntelliSense, but it has like fine-grained detail for all of the different properties and all the different elements. So I really like that. The thing that always kind of got me was state management. So last time that I developed with Flutter, provider was the best pattern or the best library to use for managing your state. We'll see where it is now. The other thing that wasn't really good with Flutter was they didn't have any built-in serializers for handling payloads like JSON or XML. So you had to develop your own serializers and deserializers to map the different fields in your JSON object into something in memory, which isn't a big deal for a small project, but for a bigger project, it'd be really nice if you could do that automatically. Fingers crossed, maybe it does it now. But I'm a new dad, and I think it would be really fun to develop an app that my daughter could use, and so I'm gonna try developing an app, something really simple with color changing and different shapes and stuff like that, that I'll be able to put on a tablet and set on the floor for her. And I just think that'll be really cool for my daughter to be able to play around and use something that I created. Okay, so the next thing that I want to learn more about is software architecture, specifically architecture for high-speed event-driven systems. So I have a lot of experience already with software architecture, but more with traditional legacy type systems and some new stuff, but it can be really tricky to get all of the different patterns used for high-speed event-driven systems in just a couple of years experience. So I would really like to, over the course of the next year, lean into this event-driven ecosystem. I also think that event-driven systems are a really good way to integrate with legacy software, because a lot of the legacy software that's out there is already generating events, whether it's JMS or pushing something into a topic, or even just sticking things into a database could be an event. But right now, they don't really do anything actionable with those events. All they do is they stuff them in a database and they pile up. You just get these huge like silos of events that they don't do anything with. And if anything is done, it's all done after the fact, and it's to like create some type of report. It would be really cool to be able to hook into those existing legacy systems with some of this high-speed eventing stuff and integrate your project with something that's already using events. Since we're talking about events, the 4th thing that I'm gonna mention is serverless architecture. So serverless is something that I've also dabbled with a little bit in the past. Previously, I've made an Amazon Alexa skill, and that used AWS Lambda in order to do the voice processing and just a couple of small functions to return some data back to the Alexa device. Really quickly, if you're not familiar with serverless, it's a weird term, I know, because it is serverless, but like obviously there's still a server. The way that it works is that you take some little piece of code and you toss it out to this serverless instance, and that server is basically sleeping all the time. But when you send a request to that server, it just starts up really quick, like in an instant, does whatever processing you need it to do, and it sends your result back, and then it goes back to sleep. The reason this is appealing is because depending on your type of application, this could save you a lot of money. Instead of paying for an AWS T2 medium instance that's just running all the time, even when nobody's using it, this only bills you while it's actually working. You know, the problem is if you have something that uses a lot of state or it's really heavy type of function, then you're gonna be doing a lot of work out there all the time. Or if somebody sends a request, it might take a few seconds for them to get a request instead of coming back instantly. I would like to jump back into serverless because it's probably been 3 years or so since I even experimented with it, and I'm sure that the ecosystem is a lot better than it used to be, and I'd just really like to dive back in there and maybe try creating another Alexa skill or something for a Google Home device. It would be really interesting to learn how serverless can integrate with existing systems. A lot of systems currently are too heavy to really benefit from serverless, but if they have remote things that they could do, like reporting or very simple processing type things that are not necessarily like part of the normal workflow, but these ancillary sort of things, it might be really interesting to put those things into a serverless function and see how they behave. The fifth thing that I'm gonna try to learn over the course of the next year is some type of programming language that allows me to develop smart contracts for different cryptocurrencies. Whether you invest in cryptocurrencies or not, there's no doubt that they're a really cool technology, and some of them do have quite a bit of utility. So I would like to explore further into the technical side of blockchains. I think the best place to start is probably Solidity on the Ethereum network, but I'm actually interested in developing applications on the Cardano network, and the reason that I'm excited about that is because the Ethereum network is just so expensive. So if I'm doing some development and trying to send some ETH back and forth, the gas fees are gonna kill me. I mean, to be serious, like just trying to transfer some money from like Coinbase to MetaMask and back, there's like $35 in gas fees right now, and that's nuts. Like, that's just to send stuff back and forth. Imagine if you're trying to do some testing, make sure that your smart contracts are working right. That's just, I'm not interested in spending that much on trying to learn. It could be hundreds or thousands of dollars before I even get good at creating these decentralized apps. So this is a bonus. It's sort of related to crypto, but sort of not. One of the tokens that I'm really interested in is called Helium, and I have a couple of Helium miners that are on the way. I ordered and I've been waiting for them for like 6 months. So hopefully they're gonna be here really soon so that way I can set them up and tell you all about my rig. Other than just setting up the mining rig, I'm really interested to actually use the Helium network. What I'd like to do is purchase one of the Helium development kits, and I think I saw some on Rack Wireless or one of those other sites for buying Helium miners. I'd like to get one of those and create my own application that actually uses tokens on the Helium network in order to transfer data back and forth, even if it's just some simple application like geolocation tracking or temperature and humidity type stuff. I think it'd be really cool to create a project that just interacts with that ecosystem. So over the course of the next year, starting now in 2021, I'm gonna try to learn these 5 things. So after 2022 starts, I'll make a video and check in, and we'll see how much of this is actually happening. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, happy coding, and I'll see you in the next one.